This is No Etiquette, the podcast where we address modern etiquette questions in a nonsense fashion. I'm Vivian Lee, coming to you from Singapore, and joining me on the line is my best friend, Sophia Bose, in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hi, Sophia.
Hi, Vivian. How are you?
I am doing better because we had a November of brain scramblies that I think we are finally out of now that it is December when we are recording this.
Yeah.
You and I were both extremely brain scramblies for all of November.
All of November. We were.
We were utterly brain scramblies.
To the point where I made up a meaning for brain scramblies, even though you had very kindly provided me a link to what it was even about. And I didn't even click it because I was so scrambled. And I just completely went with it for as long as at some point you were like, there's some context to scramblies. And
well, I think that makes sense because I've used the word brain scramblies, the phrase brain scramblies, for years, and realized at one point, in the throes of my brain scramblies, that I had never told you where it came from. And so I sent you some links, which we can talk about. But I usually don't like, I think we've gone through this. I don't love people sending me links. I would rather people just tell me the story, as I will do now, and then we will hear the story of your, which I think I kind of alluded to in a brain scrambly way in the messages. But it comes from this TV show called What We Do in the Shadows, which, fun fact, was it was co-created or created early on by the guy who did Flight of the Conchords and was the voice of the singing crab in Moana. I'm gonna get his name wrong, but that's sort
very
of
random.
I know.
You're saying these things as if I should know it, and I'm like, I will never recognize this person.
Well, okay, so I thought
what is Flight of the Conchords?
Oh, you don't know Flight of the Conchords?
No, is it famous?
It kind of, and I thought you might know because it was sort of popular around the time we got to know each other. So the mid 2010s of they were this New Zealand duo that did these little sketch comedy shows with songs that were funny. And it was sort of we were the age of when you're in college, it's funny. And then when you're in grad school right after college, I guess it just missed you because our mutual friends knew.
No, my friends were not. They just knew nothing. Did they really?
Yeah.
I didn't think my friends knew.
I think people, well, maybe. Well, anyway, this contributes.
Anyway, yeah.
But okay, the other one was, did you watch Moana? So I mentioned that because I thought that might be a
but I have no idea what the crab sounded like. I'm not paying attention to the crab.
He was the one who sang the song "Shiny" about being he was a shiny crab. Anyway, I was just very happy when I realized it was all the same person who then at some point in his career made this vampire TV show that I liked very much. It just felt like one of those great bizarre connections in life. Well, anyway, that was a long what? So What We Do in the Shadows, they readapted it to a TV show about these four vampire roommates who are they've been vampires for hundreds of years, and now they live in modern day, I want to say Staten Island or something, and they're having to blend in, and they're so bad at modern life. And that's kind of the whole joke of the show.
I want to watch vampires.
This now. It's very funny. I really think it's good. It gets worse, I think season 4, so it was but season 1, amazing. And I think my favorite episode, I think the title of it is Brain Scramblies. And it is this episode where they all go to somebody's Super Bowl party, a neighbor's Super Bowl party. And these are just the most normie neighbors you can imagine. And they're these vampires in their cloaks trying to blend in.
Yeah.
And they think that their host has figured out that they're vampires. And so they have to go take him somewhere else and hypnotize him to make him forget. But two vampires go do it, and in their kind of ineptitude, they double hypnotize him. They hypnotize him at the same time. And this gives the guy the brain scramblies, where he just has no idea what's going on anymore.
Permanently, or just for the time being?
Well, that's how you see what happens to him in the episode. But,
Okay.
it sounds very dark when I put it this way, but it's a funny
No.
show, and this guy just has the brain scramblies from the double
Yeah.
hypnosis,
Oh my
and,
gosh.
I just love that phrase, the brain scramblies. It is just so it's so brain scramblies. But what have you thought it meant the whole time?
I mean, exactly what it is.
Mm.
Because you know what it must be? You must have used it in the correct context, or you must have used it in a certain context so much that I learned what it meant without knowing what it meant, you know? I mean, I also just imagined it like scrambled eggs, and they're
Mhm.
not very uniform. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if
It's
your
like the
brain's not
perfect
very
term.
uniform, like,
Yeah.
it's just scrambled.
Scramblies. It sounds just what it
And
sounds like.
yeah.
But anyway, that's the story. But we were brain scramblies for all of November, and we can briefly describe what happened before we go into our other topic of the day. But which of us was brain scramblies first that led into all of November? We kind of brain scramblies at the same time.
I can't remember. I wonder if it was at the same time.
Of course, we can't recall because we were brain scramblies, but you were very brain
Yeah.
scramblies with work and trip planning because you were going to take a trip to come see me in Singapore.
No, I actually it could potentially have been me because November 1 is when I got my period. So I'm pretty brain
Which you get every
scramblies
month,
during
but it
right, but on the first, like, I usually get it the first week of
Oh.
every month, and so,
Oh.
I know for a fact that, yeah, I was
Oh.
particularly brain scramblies. So I must
Mm,
have been brain scramblies the week prior and then the week
okay.
during. And
Okay.
then I was planning to go, and then
Yeah.
so yes, the entire month.
Entire
Gone.
month, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was brain scramblies because I was playing Dragon Age Veilguard, which I had waited 10 years for, and I was having a great time. But I would send you these brain scramblies texts where I'd be like, I woke up at like 5:30 and I played for 2 hours, and then I went to work, and then I came back and I played for 4 more hours, and then I fell asleep, and then I woke up and I played for 2 hours. It just
It was so
neither of
wonderful.
it was wonderful, but neither of us was quite
No.
unscrambled at any point in November. And
Yeah, can
we
I
talked, but yeah, go on.
no. The only thing I want to say is that you would
Yeah.
send me all these screen captures and such, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, which
I
not
would
even
see
screen
them.
captures. I just, like, I took photos of my screen with my phone in, like, the
Oh my god,
most
I love
low-tech
you. You are
brain
so
scrambly
wonderful.
way. They were
My brain
not even real
scrambles
screen
didn't even
caps.
realize that.
And I
No,
took
but
some
what's
actually, I keep remembering,
uh-huh,
I took some real screenshots in the game, like, I,
uh-huh,
looked at the photo mode, and
within the
I posed a few nice pictures, and
oh
I
my
don't know where
gosh.
they are. I don't know how you get to I mean, it's
Yeah,
not
you don't
hard to
yeah,
find out, but they're buried
yeah,
somewhere in my PC, and
yeah.
I
And the work it will take is just to no, okay, so but the part that's the part that I so loved that you were doing this is that, like, I would because of our time difference, I would actually see your messages first thing in the morning. So I would
Mhm.
wake up to, like, these bizarre images and, like, stories, and there was no other context a lot of the times because you were just, like, playing and sending me stuff. So I'm, like, reading the story that's, like, so nonsense, and the pictures are so nonsense. It's like 5 a.m. and my brain's already not working, and it was
Mhm.
just, like, this delightful thing because I loved it because it was, like, I don't know, there's a dopamine piece to it, right? It's, like,
Mm.
colorful and it's, like, a story, and
Yeah.
you always sent the funny stuff, so
Yeah. I know one thing I was complaining about throughout was how, like, teamwork focused the game was and how hard they were selling you on being like, you
Mhm.
become the leader of this team. And there were so
Uh-huh.
many dialogue options that were so pro team. And I never liked picking them. I think maybe younger me would have been a little more like, yeah, team. And I was just like, get it together, people. And
Mm.
but it's gotten into me. I find myself using the word team a lot more. Like at work, like we got to contribute to the team. Or like, this is you're helping the team
No.
really say it,
Really?
and I believe it in real life, but I don't
Oh
wanna do it in my
my god.
fantasy game life.
I'm so, that's so wonderful.
I guess it's a
Like, that's
good
so
thing
heartwarming. Yeah.
or something. It was so irritating to me in the game somehow. I was like, "I don't wanna
Yeah.
help you guys with your mental health. I want you to just, like, get your ducks in a row and go fight with me. Like, don't make me deal with your emotional problems."
Oh my gosh. And then you went into the world, with all these, like, techniques or,
I think it's
words.
because I don't know about techniques, but I think it's because I already do it in the world, and I know it's important to do
Yeah.
in
That's
the world.
true. Yeah.
And in the fantasy
Yeah.
game version, I'm just like,
Yeah.
solve your own problem. Even though that's the part that most people would, I think, enjoy. I think younger me would have been like, oh yeah, like tell me your troubles. Like, you need help doing this quest? Like, oh yeah, and then we'll become better friends because we did this quest together. And I wasn't really having it, but that was my November, and then you were very brain scramblies, and the trip didn't happen because of separate reasons we'll talk about that were amazingly brain scramblies.
Yeah, for someone who's brain scrambled,
yeah, and it like double brain scrambled us because we were like living in an alternate universe where we were supposed to be having a certain trip together, and just like it didn't happen, and we were brain scrambling.
It was, yeah. Well, you took, yeah. I think what we did is we said that we would do some sort of vacation thing, and then we did separately, right? Like, so you did something in Singapore, and then I went to London.
We had our like separate vacation thing. I really think we did a good, like, and it didn't even feel like second best. It was just like, we'll just do this other thing, and it worked out, which I think was very good. It's a good recovery. It was a good bounce back. But on the topic of brain scrambling, we were kind of going over like, what is the etiquette? Is there any etiquette? And I was positing that it's not really an excuse for something. Like if you drop the ball or you mess up something because you were addled in your mind for whatever reason, short of like real like debilitating life change or something. I don't think it really excuses you from doing something, but sometimes in the right relationship, it is not bad context to provide, I think. And I'll just say, I'm sorry, I'm kind of brain scramblies, or like, I think I won't say that at work. I might say something like, I'm sorry, everything was a blur and I was kind of busy doing a lot of things. And I apologize, and it doesn't excuse it, but I'll kind of add it on the side. But somehow knowing that the other person was brain scramblies sometimes is, if it humanizes the connection or what, but it's
important context, because then you don't take it personally. You understand. It's and then also you can help the person if they need it. You can offer to be like, hey, I don't know. I think it's a good thing to do, to share the condition that you are in.
It gives where appropriate, it gives the other person the opportunity to say something understanding back, right? Either like, I've been there, or like, oh, I'm sorry, it's okay. It's, we all go through this sometimes. But brain scramblies is real. So just too many things happen. Too many things not going the way one expected, period. Or it was very, I can't even, like, it was so brain scramblies.
I feel like November happened, and I don't understand. It's already December. Like, I really don't remember November.
Like, I feel like I sort of lost the whole like lead up to December. I love December. I love the holiday season. But you kind of anticipate it. And I remember, I mean, I went with my mom. We we talked about setting up the Christmas tree. We bought some like Christmas stuff. And usually that phase of getting ready is very, I don't know, it was just an absolute blur. I look around and we have some Christmas stuff up, and I don't know when or how it happened. Brain scramblies. That's the brain scramblies.
Wow. I think what we were also thinking about was how there is a quality of brain scramblies that is also viral. Like you can definitely, like, there's a way in which you can give people brain scramblies just by being brain scrambly.
The brain scrambly is contagion.
Yep, that. I think it's a thing.
It's a thing. I think it can go both ways. I think sometimes you can see someone in their brain scramblies, and it doesn't impact you because it's their brain scramblies. You can just see it happening. But you can certainly pass along the brain scramblies if you are brain scramblies, and then you muddle someone else, and you we were talking about sort of like the energy of it, of somebody with brain scramblies sort of affecting other people, or
no, we were,
Do you think we did that to each other? Do you think we brain scramblies?
100%. I was actually just about to say that. I was like, we were like, I think we were both already scrambled, and we were sending scrambled messages to each other. Neither one, no, there was not the one of us that was being sane. We were both just like,
we exacerbated each other's brain scramblies.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's right.
It's true.
Because sometimes if you have brain scramble, it can be helpful to reach out to someone who doesn't, and then you kind of like restabilize a little. But we were just like both all kinds of mixed up for all of November. I cannot stress this enough.
It was all of November, to the point that, like, I cannot believe that I don't remember November. Like, it's just so hard. Like, I mean, like so much happening.
Yeah. Okay, so we extra brain scramblies each other as well. Like, surely that didn't help in a, not a bad way, but just like, other person was also entirely brain scramblies.
Yeah.
It's on the note of sort of like, we've been wanting to discuss this for a while, sort of like people's energy, people's aura, people's air. Like it sounds very new agey and and like fake or something when you talk about it that way. But you and I have always felt that you can sort of sense it goes beyond someone's emotions or someone's presence, but they're sort of putting out sort of vibes, if you will, or people's
Yeah, I know. It's one of those words you
yeah.
hate, but they really it's sometimes the only word one can use, and then
Yeah, it's like this generation's version of energy, of saying someone's
you're
energy,
right.
this person's
Yeah, someone's
vibes.
energy, so they'll just say
Yeah.
vibes. Okay.
Everyone has color, but it's something that you and I have always kind of paid attention to. It explains a lot of social interactions, we think, of like you see something going on
Yeah. Yeah.
and what is it? It's the it's the vibe.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what I'm realizing?
yeah.
Um, I always found you to be profoundly good at not just discerning the vibe of a person, but also, like one discerning that it's there, but then also like interpreting it in a way that I think is fairly accurate. Whereas I think I can discern it, and then the interpretation thing is just everywhere. It's like this could mean so many different things, and then I get very confused. But I think you are kind of able to hone in on people's energies in a way that I find it's fascinating to me.
I probably tell you the cases where I have greater clarity is what I would guess. But
Yeah.
I feel the same about you, where you can pick up on someone's emotions or emotional energy, and you'll address it very directly a lot of the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I maybe I feel like I get confused by it, but
Mm, mm,
I don't know. I don't remember.
mm, mm,
We get
mm,
impacted. I think that's the main thing. It is a
mm.
thing. It impacts you.
Yeah, yeah. I think we pick up on it quite consciously, and we feel that
Yes,
everyone picks up on it, but not always very consciously.
correct. Yes. I think that's a really I think this is a core component of our friendship actually.
Mm,
Is it, like your ability to do that and my ability to do that because then it
mm,
means we're seeing the same.
mm,
It's helpful.
mhm. Oh.
Okay, so I have a question, Vivian, and if it completely takes us off the tracks, you can just let me know. But um,
It's okay, we're a
how?
nonsense podcast.
Okay, perfect. Um, how? I think when I'm trying to, when I think about like the aura or energy or vibe or whatever,
Mm,
like, is that the same place from which like our spiritual life lives also?
I was just thinking.
And yeah, that was what I was thinking.
I think so. It's like emotional, spiritual, which are sometimes the same, sometimes not, or, but we've talked about this. I really admire people. Some people have this ability. They can
Hmm.
really look at somebody and kind of get the essence of their character, or they sense something
Yeah,
about how that person sees the world, or how they feel, or how they see themselves. I think you're
yeah.
you're very good at picking that up about people.
Like how the person is seeing themselves.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, that's like high praise, which I don't like feel like I don't think I necessarily like I don't think in my head I think I do that. But it's like very high praise, so I'm like very happy with it and I'll probably
I
write it in
shall
my
accept.
diary. It'll be a whole thing and I can tell people like, you know what? There's people claim that I know
It is said of me.
my data has been said.
Yeah, but I do think that is a kind of spiritual perception, whether it comes from an external spiritual divine source or that people sort of just have this gift or ability. Um, Very much so, very much so. Because it's like clear seeing, right? Like, I mean, that's one version. It's clear seeing or it's like insight. Yeah, it's all these seeing metaphors of knowing something about a person from the way they carry themselves or sensing how they feel or have felt for a long time, whether they know it about themselves or not. It was recently Marina Abramovich's birthday,
Yeah.
whom we like a lot. We've talked about her
Hmm.
before. We screamed at her scream sculpture in
Yes.
Oslo. I feel like, and it's been like now like 3 years since I read more, but I think it's the kind of thing she talks about a lot with her life and her art, which kind of, I think she gets to inner things and she
Mm.
can sense them in people.
Like when people talk about a spiritual life or like their
Mm,
spiritual life,
mm.
what do they mean? Like
That is a
are they
great
talking
question.
about yeah, what do they mean?
Brene Brown has a definition that it's about being connected to something greater than yourself, which I quite like as a definition. So she distinguishes between religious and spiritual in
Yeah.
that fashion, where she says you can be
Okay.
very religious and do religious things and not give a hoot about other people's inner lives or well-being or emotions. And
Okay.
conversely, you can be extremely irreligious and, have no religion or not practice or dislike or, any of that, and have a great care for people and their hopes and beliefs and dreams and larger ideals. And to her, that is being spiritual, which is not everybody's definition, but it was like a quick one that I think cuts through a lot of false definitions that I liked a lot.
I'm really happy that you shared that because I think that makes sense, right? I'm trying to, apply it to different things and
Yeah.
see. So
Like, it makes sense.
essentially,
It's one of those definitions that can be so broad that you can kind of use it for anything, but I think it makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, okay. No, I was actually trying to connect it to brain scramblies. Like, is it that when one is in a brain scrambly state, it is not simply that they're busy. It's beyond that. It's not just that they're busy. It's that there's something that they're like the situation they're in right now is not a state of ease. You can be in a state of ease and be extremely busy, but
Mhm.
brain scramblies, from at least the way I imagine it, is you're not in a state of ease in addition to being busy or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's part.
Is that
Your
part of
inner
it?
self. Yeah, your
Like,
your
is
sort of
brain
like inner
scramblies like an
direction is
inner
kind of
thing?
all over. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, is that what brain scramblies is?
I think that's one part of it, yeah. But bringing it back to etiquette, and maybe when we have a couple more examples of people's auras or ways of being in the world, which can be perceived spiritually. One more concept we were talking about was sort of kind of taking turns with your
Mm.
way of affecting other people. In that, okay, this is very abstract. I will recommence with the story that I've held dear for many years that has guided me through many interactions of feeling people's auras, whatever that
Uh-huh.
may mean to you,
Yeah.
which I was
Yeah.
telling you about earlier, which is such a small thing, but has really been one thing I come back to, which is when I was in college, I had this econ class and it was law and
Mhm.
economics. I'm remembering now. I'm going to forget this professor's exact name, but the class was law and economics, which I had been very
Yeah.
excited about because at the time I thought I was going into law and economics. And I liked the professor who was this sort of like kind of like older Southern gentleman kind of figure,
Yeah.
now living in the East Coast, but like you could tell he had that background. And one day he comes into class, apropos of nothing, and
Mhm.
kind of tells us the story that I think he had just gotten off a call with some kind of annoying customer service thing where, okay, no,
Yeah.
what had happened was he had called customer service with some issue and
Mhm.
he was angry about the issue. And he said that customer service had started getting angry as well at him.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And and this makes it sound like he was a very complaining person. He really wasn't. It really was
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think he was almost, like, astounded at this interaction and needed to tell somebody.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the way he explained it, and he said I think he told the customer service person was,
Mhm.
"Only one of us can be angry at a time." And I thought
Yeah.
that was just, like, the best guide to having an argument that I had ever heard, where and, he tried to explain it, I think, to the person where he was like, "No, no, no, I'm the one being angry because I have the issue.
Uh-huh.
And so what you need to do at this moment is even if you are feeling angry,
Mhm.
just, be calm and listen and let's resolve my issue. And then maybe later you can be angry or something, or you can be
Uh-huh.
angry at
Yeah.
someone else, not me, the
Yeah.
customer."
Yes.
But I think of it as just like this is so clear to me in so many interactions that go wrong is that two people are angry at the same time or two people
Yeah.
are, they're the same thing at the same time. And what you
Mm.
really need to do is take turns with it. It's not to say that you can't both feel angry. It is
Yeah.
just that you cannot both be angry towards the other person at once.
Yeah. Um, yeah, this is connected to the thing we were speaking about just now, right? Like the vibe thing. Because I think if you're picking up on
Mhm.
there's like receiving and giving, and I think
Yes.
yeah, if somebody's giving off anger and you're giving off like that, there's going to be no harmony in the in the interaction.
Yeah. And we've talked about how if one person is stressed and anxious, the other person must be calm or something. Like you
Yeah.
can't if
Yeah.
you extra stress and anxious back,
Yes.
that's no
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. That's true. That is
Yeah.
no good.
I think I can think of times where, you go to a party or something and you see people kind of clashing. It's because they both want to be exerting the same kind of aura, right? Or they both want to be the most
Yeah.
interesting room, or they want to be the person who's telling the story that everyone is listening to
Yeah.
or something. And if you can take turns, great. And if you both want that same thing, you're going to clash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Trying to think of like what the right way, or I guess what's the etiquette way of like you're in a situation where you're perceiving,
Mm.
I don't know, there's two people that are frustrated, but
Mm.
it's like you don't want to sound like. I think when I was younger, I would do that. Like if two people were frustrated, I'd be like, "Oh, stop being frustrated. Don't be sad." But I feel like that just annoys people even more. Like, what's the etiquette way of, you know, one person gets to be, like, this way at a time? Like, yeah, intervention, I guess. What's the way to
Mm.
intervene or just be part of that
Mm.
situation in a polite way?
Conflict resolution. You know what this is
Correct.
making me realize? This is the role of the neutral third party, is to be neutral. Like then you introduce neutrality and you
Ah.
pull people back towards neutrality for a second, and
Uh-huh.
then you resolve things one at a time. I think it's very much an
Mm.
energy thing, right? It's not just that the third person is
Yeah.
stating what's going on. It's quite often that the other two people. So this is the thing we're trying to get at, where like two people who are fighting, sometimes they know
Yeah.
perfectly well what they're fighting about, but
Right. Yeah.
they need like an energy
That,
change.
yeah, that believes, yes, that actually is neutral, right? Like, you can't
Mhm.
have somebody who's fake neutral.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know where the etiquette topic is, except that I think it's very powerful when somebody can use their energy to calm down a situation or to diffuse a situation or to bring something needed to a situation. Like I think I've talked about this before. Like I really admire people who can bring fun to a situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, or cheer or
Yeah.
or something like or what's
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah.
It's a
I
version
think
of like what can I do to improve the situation? And you can very much do it on an energy level. Um
mm,
this is what people mean, I think, when they say it doesn't even matter what you say sometimes in a situation. It's how you
yes. It's your delivery.
it's your deliver or it's like your presence or it's your
Yeah.
overall,
Yeah.
kind of being.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the way it ties into etiquette is that, like, noticing it is the etiquette thing to do, right? Like, just even looking out for it,
Looking out for
because
it and
that
then
will, yeah.
like intervening and intervening is a strong word, but like participating in it in a way
Yeah.
where you're choosing your
Yeah.
energy
Yes,
participation.
participate in a way, yes, that considers what is happening. Okay. I think that's pretty high etiquette.
Very high etiquette.
Yeah.
Can you think of times when you've seen other people do this or you've done this?
Yes, I can think of one very distinct example. Um, I was in a family gathering
Mm,
and everybody was just bickering
mm,
nonstop. It was one of those bizarre things where you are in a room where you know everybody loves each other, and it's
mm,
so confusing, like, why are they fighting? And, I was visiting, I was out of town, and so, these relatives are all in this room, and I looked at them all and I was like, "Hey, remember when you guys were, like, 8 and, like, you were all in the same room? Like, wasn't it fun?"
mm,
And, like, you know, like, yeah, like, forget all this is not real. I think I talked about The Matrix a little bit too. And it kinda, like, changed things. Like, I think they kinda
mm,
snapped out of it. Like,
mm,
I think the temporal shift was important. Like, it's like, "Oh, remember when you were 8?" And then you just sort of they went back in
mm.
time and they're like, "Oh, there's a bigger, um" yeah, it's a much bigger situation than whatever it is we're bickering about right now in
Mm.
this instant. And it snapped them out of it, which was good. I'm very proud of it. Probably one of my proudest moments.
That's a good moment.
Thank
That's
you.
many people. Yeah. No, and they
What
were
about
very
you?
receptive to it. I mean, it just and I'll get I'm stalling because I haven't thought about this at all. But I think kind of in the sense of if you hadn't done it, the situation would have continued as is,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
I think it connects to something I've been trying to see more about the influence that people can have on one another. Where I think it's like the fine line where they say where you can't change other people, but you can influence them, and
Yeah.
it's not. We shouldn't underestimate how that
Mhm.
influence
I've
can't
been
be
thinking about that a
everything.
lot. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But keep going. I wanna hear what you were saying something.
No, that's about it. I think it's something I've thought a lot about for 2024. Get to the close of the year. I mean, I'll keep. It's not like one gets to a point in one's life where one is done thinking about influence and cracked it. Um,
No, I've been thinking about the influence thing because, like, you were saying how, like, how you're approaching the other person, and the power that we have, I suppose, in that situation. One thing I
mhm,
realized is, um, we go or at least me, like, it's become so habitual how you behave with somebody else,
mm,
and then so you will only ever get, the version of them that
mm,
responds to the version of you
that you
in
were
current
putting out there.
state.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was thinking about, like, and then we, in some ways, don't get to be with the other parts of that person,
Mm,
and we don't really know, like, there's
mm.
so many ways to make everybody new again.
Aw,
That's it.
well, that's very true. I think that's especially the case with family. Like, I don't think I have a moment where
Yeah,
I have changed the energy of a family gathering because I tend to be on autopilot of like I've always been this way, and it's
yeah,
comfortable, it's familiar. That's the good side, but also there's the flip
yeah,
side of that family.
yeah,
Of been a certain way around for a long time, or you continue acting in a certain way because that's sort of the role or just
yeah,
the
yeah,
ritual. Yeah,
yeah.
but I'm punting. I think of a specific. It's probably.
I think you've mentioned many a story over the past few months where you've done this, actually, that I can think of.
Can you think of any right now?
Yeah. Like at work, you do it constantly. You change the atmosphere in various ways. Um, I don't wanna go into detail, I guess I don't know how much of detail I can go into, so, I won't, but, can you think of it, I guess, now that I've mentioned the work thing?
Not too many specifics, but I think of that kind of idea. I guess the work phrase is like you can set the tone for a meeting or a day or something, right?
Yeah,
Like you can kind of
yeah,
um
yeah,
the way you start out into it kind of
yeah,
launches the so
yes,
I think you can do that in relationships. So
yeah.
has anybody's aura been interesting to you recently?
Um, I'm thinking, yes. There's somebody I work with,
hmm
and I cannot understand his aura. It's so
Oh,
confusing to me. It's
mm,
like he's shielding it,
mm,
and I don't know how to make it come out. Like, it's just I have to work pretty closely with this person, and, um, I don't ever feel like he's being his authentic self, and I do feel like it impacts the quality of the work. I do feel that, um, and maybe in ways that are subtle, but I actually do think, yeah. So, yes,
mm,
I have noticed, um,
mm,
I yeah,
mm.
that's have
So
you have you have
Um, we've established that I'm not being very good about thinking about my own
No, no,
examples for
no.
now. But when you were kind of saying that, I remember something some very spiritually inclined friends had talked about for something like that, which is um when you sense or given something about a person, and like not
Yeah,
beginning to like woo woo about this, but
yeah.
their whole way of explaining this kind of thing was always think about encouraging and edifying the other person. I think that's a
Oh,
really good guideline because they were saying, you can see something about a person and it can be true, but if you deliver it
uh-huh.
in the wrong way, it can be very wounding, or very
Yeah, yeah,
disorienting. Like if you
yeah.
went up to this person, hypothetically, and went, I don't think you're being your authentic self. Like
That's horrible. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that
That
could
would be the
throw that
worst.
person into an absolute tailspin, and it's
Yeah.
completely true, but it results in,
No,
like,
it's bad.
self-doubt
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
like,
Yeah, yeah,
confusion
yeah.
and,
It's
like,
so bad.
bewilderment. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so they had been saying when you see something true about the person, either you can say it in a way that is completely encouraging, or
Yeah.
you hold it for a moment that, that it is right. But, like, they were saying, like, you can phrase it in an encouraging way, like, "You can be yourself around me," or something, like, in the right
Mm.
moment, or, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's ways to put the positive spin on it.
Yeah.
Um, And if they said it can be so simple, but as long as the end result you are aiming for is encouraging and edifying, you will not go wrong.
Encouraging and edifying. What exactly does edifying mean? I feel like I don't know the definition.
Like learning, right? Like
educate. Edify. Okay,
yeah,
okay. I got it.
Like it's
Yeah.
it's helpful for me to know this truth, right?
Yeah.
This
Yeah. Okay.
informed me of
I
something
understand.
I didn't know. Yeah.
So encouraging and edifying. I love that. That's really wonderful.
That's good. These were very insightful people.
Yeah. I'm gonna remember it now too, because I asked you what edifying meant.
Yeah. I hope to goodness I've defined it correctly. It's always one of those that you sound very confident of a thing as you're recording it and you go look it up later and it was absolutely wrong. But I think that's the general.
No,
It's like, it's building
100%
up also. I mean, it's similar
Yeah.
to encouraging them. It's because of the root, like edification, right? Like that's
Yeah, that's it. Right. Because once I got the root, I was like, oh, that's what the word is. I remembered it. But
Yeah.
I feel like before that, I couldn't think
Yeah.
of it.
It's a word we could use more often. It's a good word.
Yeah, we don't use that word very often.
Yeah. Edifying.
Yeah. I think the reason we were also thinking about the energy aura thing is because the World Chess Championship is happening.
Ooh.
And do you want to talk about that?
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Actually, I think you should make this point since you're physically there. You actually saw these two humans.
I did go to, and I mean, the sad thing is we were both supposed to be there, which is the kind of, I mean, I won't be too sad about it. We had good separate adventures, but it would have been, I mean, we were joking, like it would have been a very different trip if I had gone with you, but it was still fine.
Yeah.
Fine and great.
Yeah.
But, and like I got to text you and, we did the whole, so much of our friendship has been texting the other person what's happening to us.
Yeah.
And that is also a perfectly fine way of being in the world.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree. You saw every single cup of coffee I drank.
Yeah, while you were in London instead. Yeah, it was great. Loved all of it. So, I think like this can be our energy take on the World Chess Championship so far this year. Because I really liked your reframing of it as soon as I told it to you. But anyway, so I go there. It was I think the first thing I was telling you was it was such a different tournament feel from Cozy Stavanger, Norway, which was so almost too relaxed. I mean, not almost too, but it was like so trusting. It was like they just asked us at the door, is your phone on silent? Yes. And there was one time someone's phone was not on silent, and everybody,
I remember this.
But it was so like it was so casual in a good way. You could just go in. You were so close to the players, and we all used the same door. Oh, no, I think the players. No, they went through because they were on stage. They went through separate doors. But like we were so close. And World Chess Championship, of course, much higher stakes. They had to do multiple security checks on us because they weren't the most organized on the first day, which I understand. And the crowd was so it was like a fan crowd in Norway, but there was a certain there was like people so much wanted to take pictures or selfies of the players. And I get it, but it's also like it was the kind of like celebrity energy that was somehow not there with it was there with you know what I mean? It was there with Norway. People were like taking photos, people were going to get autographs.
Yeah.
But it was like a different level of celebrity energy.
Wow, really? That must be difficult for the players.
I think so. Yeah, you can it feels different. And I was actually kind of happy when I found it afterwards. So the players were in this like glass box, which I think I had read about from previous. I didn't know it was going to happen again, but they were in this glass box. And for the first couple minutes, like the photographers can take photos of them in the glass box. So they're just like you don't even see the players for the first couple minutes because it's all photographers.
Got it.
And then they're in this glass box, like this fish. You know what I always think of? And you're oh boy, sorry, I'm just laughing because I always think I'm bringing up common references because my pool of like things I have watched is so small, but yours is even smaller because you grew up in Saudi Arabia. And like, anyway, so I don't suppose you've watched X-Men 2. Or this is making us sound
I don't think I do. I don't think I did.
Yeah, because this was even before like the whole Marvel movie thing. This was so long ago.
Yeah, I did not see that.
It was like a Marvel movie before Marvel movies are what they are today.
Yeah.
And it was so long ago that I didn't even see it with like
Wow.
school films.
Okay.
I know, but this was the movie that got me kind of into it. But
I did
I'll
not
just
even
spoil
know you
X-Men
were
2.
into X-Men.
I was so into
Oh,
X-Men.
wow. This is new information for me. Now I know something about you I didn't.
This is
Okay.
a lot.
Sorry,
And,
I
I wonder
interrupted.
if I can tie it back to, like, the sort of we were talking before this about, like, a person you knew who was you guys were seeing the same situation, but her take on it was pretty superficial and we were being maybe a little frank
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
But I think Marvel movies are such a they're such a big phenomenon that many people will have a sort of like surface level take or understanding that they've seen a few movies. But I think
Yeah.
the like hardcore Marvel fans
Yeah.
will say like, "Oh, but you don't know the whole history and what they mean and what they stand for and so on." And I felt like I had that a little bit with the X-Men before, like
Mm.
they're I was in high school like, "Oh, they're a metaphor for difference." Like this was like before. This is a metaphor about everyone having their own special powers and it makes you weird and different. Where was I going with this? But okay. Um I'll just spoil X-Men, parts of X-Men 2. But at the end of X-Men 1, I'm sorry, I'm just laughing as you're letting me go down this like long
No, I'm enjoying this. Like, this is like completely new territory. Had no idea you were into this. I'm
You've never
learning
heard of
things now. I can pretend I've watched it in the future if I need to.
Yeah, and you can watch it. And this is why I think when we decided to do Brain Scramblies together with Energy, we wanted to do it together because Energy is something so vague. Like, I really think we
Yeah.
both think of it as something very strongly felt, but it is hard to talk about in anything
Mhm.
but an abstract way. So here I go
Mhm.
launching into X-Men 2. And at the end of X-Men 1, the villain Magneto has been captured, and he is the one who can manipulate metal.
Ah,
That's why his name is
and
Magneto.
Magneto.
Just
Oh, good, but yeah.
Magneto.
Okay.
It's a great backstory. I think he's one of the best villains ever, but,
Mhm.
they have him imprisoned in this plastic prison at the start of X-Men 2 because if he's around any metal, he can manipulate it and get out of there.
The
And
plastic
so,
prison.
yeah, at the start of X-Men 2, and I'm gonna get it a little wrong, but I'm pretty sure at the
Mhm.
start of X-Men 2, you see him in this big white plastic prison that looks kinda like an
Uh-huh.
Apple store now that we have a more
Oh,
recent reference, but it's just like this all
yeah.
white box.
Yeah,
And he's
yeah.
wearing white, and he's playing chess, I think with Professor
Really?
Xavier. Yeah, he's playing chess with
Oh my gosh.
these like white pieces. It's all very,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
a great the cool way he escapes is
Yeah.
his one of his hench people uh
Uh-huh.
drugs one of his guards with
Uh-huh.
iron. Like okay, this is Mystique. She gets him in a
Yes.
bathroom.
Yeah.
She like seduces the
Yeah.
guard, and then
Uh-huh.
this is such great movie times where she just takes this huge syringe full of like the silver liquid and just like jabs it into the guard. And the guard goes, he doesn't know what happens. He goes to the plastic prison, and
Yeah.
Magneto
Yeah.
goes, there's something different about you. And this is Ian McKellen, by the way, since you know really nothing about it. This is Ian McKellen. Do you know who Ian McKellen is? Oh
No,
my gosh.
because 'cause you're, like,
Well,
telling me this as though I should know it, and I'm confused now.
wait,
Who
wait.
is it
You've
and
seen The
why?
Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah,
This is
I
Gandalf.
have. Ah, okay, okay.
This is the
Okay, I
same
know him
actor
now.
who's Gandalf.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
that's his name.
Okay,
I
okay,
just didn't
okay.
know his name. I just didn't know his name.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's fair. So
I picture him
Sir
now.
Ian McKellen can be very kindly or very evil in like the same way, which is
Ah,
great. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he's
yeah.
so good as Magneto. So,
Mhm.
um, and so he goes, there's something different about you today. There's too much iron in your blood. And he pulls the iron out of this guy's blood.
Oh my gosh.
And he makes like a bunch of little ball bearings and he like swirls them through the air and he like uses it to smash up the prison. And then he makes this like metal disc that he floats out of the prison on. It's so good.
Oh, you're making me want to watch this.
X-Men 2 is the best X-Men, I think, movie.
What year? I mean, I'll look it up. What year did it come out, though, if you know
So
it off the
long
top of your
ago,
head?
like maybe
Okay, I'll look it up.
2001 or
I'll look it
something,
up.
like
Yeah. It's just
so long
X-Men 2,
ago.
right? It doesn't have, like, a
Just
huge
X-Men
fancy name?
2. It
Okay.
does not even have they weren't even doing that yet, I think it was just X-Men
Okay, okay.
2.
Yeah, because I get so
Um,
confused that they all have these, like, really long titles, and you're like, "What?
yeah.
This one?" Okay.
They
X-Men 2.
started doing it with the subsequent ones, but this was even
Okay.
before that.
Alright.
I think X-Men 2 is the only one you need to watch because X-Men 1 was kinda silly, like,
I'm really enjoying this.
they were trying to show them at the start of their powers, and they're just hopeless. They're just getting thrown around. Like, they look
Oh
really
my god.
sad. So you can
Yeah.
skip X-Men 1. X-Men
Okay,
2 is
I'll skip
probably the
X-Men 1.
best one, and it has the great escape from the plastic prison. Anyway, so all that to say, I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks this. Like, I think if you've seen the movie, it's just anyway, but when I was watching the World Chess Championship live, that is what I thought of.
I I really love that you explained this whole thing to me because now I know what your brain was feeling.
Yeah.
You were in this like, this whole thing was happening and then you're and you
Yeah.
really like X-Men too. This is
Yeah.
great.
It was great. It just seems like so I guess what I was probably thinking was like this would be like a great supervillain setup, where these just two
You're
people are in this
right.
like glass box playing very seriously. The
Yeah.
other thing that I thought about, which actually made me feel better later, was like, man, it must feel like very isolating for these players to be playing in this box. But I found out later
Yeah.
that apparently it's one-way glass, so they can't see out,
Yes, it is one-way glass.
which is
Yeah, yeah,
great. Yeah.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
So that's great for them, actually. That's probably better. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, what I liked knowing
I
later
yeah.
was they can't hear us spectating, which was
Uh-huh.
good because we were not perfectly silent.
Mm.
I think they reported this in some of the news articles, but there were these people. They had a lot of volunteers, who were very earnest, and
Yeah.
there was always like one or two volunteers standing at the side, so no one could really see them unless you looked at
Yeah.
them. But they were
Yeah,
just
yeah.
standing at the side with a sign that said "silence," if I remember correctly.
Really?
Yeah,
For, like,
just a
hours?
person. Yeah, like
For
at least the
4
first and
hours on average?
yeah, this person standing there with the sign.
Wow.
And the funniest thing is that people were not even that silent. Like, I was telling you the first
No.
because when I was sitting in front of I had to change seats because they made us go out for security
Yeah.
and in again.
Yeah.
And the first people we were sitting near was this like maybe grandchild and grandfather, and I was getting so
Yeah.
annoyed with them because the kid would be like, "Come on, just move your bishop." And the grandfather would be
Oh.
like, "No, that's a bad move. He should move his knight." But I could just tell that both of them were not great. Like
Oh.
they were doing that irritating. They were sure they knew the best move
Yeah.
and they didn't know the best move. So like the combination
Yeah.
of that and like constantly was like,
Wow.
and I was just at the
Oh,
point
that
where I was like, should I tell them to be quiet? Should
yeah.
someone else tell them to be quiet?
Yeah.
And then we ended up
Yeah.
changing seats. And then I sat next to these two sweet bros
Uh-huh.
who were I figured about like intermediate players, like
Mhm.
casual intermediate fans, which
Yeah.
is a little better than me, like in terms of their
Yeah.
level, but like just
Yeah.
right in terms of commentary because they would walk through things in a very systematic, simple fashion.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and I quite liked their commentary because it was sort of unobtrusive. They were clearly fans. They were
Yeah.
enjoying it. They weren't being
Mhm.
like, this person made a stupid move because this and this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I find out like quite late in the conversation that they don't even know each other. I thought they were two friends who had come together,
Mm.
and it seemed like they were just two strangers who
Yeah.
united in the love of chess. They had good
I
energy,
really
if this
love
is
that.
what we're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
I was actually thinking of that. It sounds like they all had kind of a very, complimentary energy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
They looked at each other, they sensed that here is a fan about the same age as me, probably one of them struck up the conversation, or I kind of curious how that interaction started. Maybe it started earlier when they were lining up and thing, but I probably one of them was like asking about a move, and the other one responded, and they were just having this lovely chat where neither really felt like the authoritative expert, but they were helping each other understand it.
Yeah.
Could he move his rook there? And then the person was like, "Well," and
Yeah.
then that,
Yeah.
and they'd be like, "Okay,
Yeah.
okay."
Yeah.
Yeah. And then for
I
the players, I
really
was
yeah.
happy
Mm.
that they were us because then they could focus and
Yeah.
yeah.
It would be a shame. Yeah. I did that fangirl thing where I actually watched the Chess Space India's, they did, like, a tour of the area the previous
Oh,
day,
they're
and so,
so
like, I
good about
actually
doing
saw
that.
all of it. No, I mean, no, this is just, like, the part of me that I don't know, I like the gossip of it, you know? So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, no,
oh,
me too.
like,
We like the
it was
gossip. And Chess
great.
Space India does the best ones where they'll, like,
They
tour
did
the
the
venue and
best. Oh my gosh.
they'll,
Yes.
like,
So
show
I
you the
watched
food if they
the
have access
yeah.
to the food. Like, they're so good
Yes.
about that.
Oh, so good about it. So, yeah, that's the reason I know about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you were okay, so I that was my long detour to talking about sort of, like, the energy in the room, which I think was was
Yeah.
quite good overall. People were
Mhm.
interested. Like, I could tell there was a certain number of, like, maybe, like, VIP type guests who were
Yeah.
not the most familiar with chess, but invested and watching and
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
people couldn't be on their phones because, um, they took our device or they asked us to check our devices
Yeah.
in. Just this past week, I had
Mhm.
been at this concert for a friend, uh,
Mhm.
and it was a community orchestra concert, so everybody watching was kind of a friend or a family member of someone there.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we were mostly there for a person rather than the music, which was great, but, like, maybe not our first inclination.
Yeah.
And it was so sad that so many people were on their phones, like, watching stuff or reading stuff, just not even paying attention, and a number of phones went off audibly, which was really upsetting. Like, like, 1 or 2 is bad
Yeah, for a
enough.
concert too, especially, yeah. Mhm.
And I could kinda tell it wasn't just like you left your ringtone on, it was like you're on you're watching videos and then one of them comes on or something, like, it was that kinda thing.
That's really
Um,
disrespectful.
it was disrespectful, and they could hear us in the orchestra, they had no glass box, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
But I gotta say at
Mm.
day 1 of the World Chess Championship, it was very good energy, everyone was interested, even if you were not the most knowledgeable about chess, which I will I'll count
Yeah,
myself in that. Of, like,
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
perfectly know what's going on, but people were interested in directing good audience energy. But when I was talking about it with you, um, you had this fun theory that
Mhm.
um, that Ding and Gukesh are kind of similar, and they're having trouble playing against not playing, but, like, they're having trouble, like, not getting an edge, but it's making it harder for them to play in a gotta win way or something. Not even that. Like, I'm not saying they're not trying for wins. Like, that's not what I mean at all. But you were talking about their energies making it difficult for them to play each other.
Yeah. You know, I think the 2 of them, like, on the one hand, Ding seems to have problems with his confidence and so on, and I think Gukesh doesn't, that's not so much of a concern for him. Um, but what I realized actually while you were talking is, like, they really savor the game.
Mm,
So Gukesh is famous for not having looked at, or not famous, but like, for not having used engines until he was like 9 or 10 or something, or like he didn't
really?
do. Yes, so that's what he's kind of known for, or not
Why?
known
Why
for,
was he
but
like I mean, not why was he like that, but, like, why?
I think it was a choice by his
Mm,
instructor to help him. Like, I think
mm, okay.
because everybody else is using engines, like, I think if you can
Yeah,
develop your mind in a certain way without it,
sure.
it's, and then apparently I'd read somewhere, like, in a interview, that that's how, like, they train in China,
Mm.
and, like, that's how Ding, in fact, I think potentially, like, when he was
Oh.
obviously, but also, given his age and stuff,
Yeah,
they weren't using computer as much, but I think
yeah.
even then, the preparation is slightly different, and they don't
Mm,
talk very much about it.
mm,
Um, so I feel like when the 2 of them are playing, it's this, like, really, like, stealthy, like, karate, like, in the night, like, it's just silky and stealthy, and,
mm,
um, that's how it feels. It's, like,
mm,
slippery. Like, someone will get the advantage so quickly for such a little time, and then the
mm,
other person will get it, and then it's sort of like, yeah, it's
mm.
fascinating,
Yeah.
their energy.
I mean, we know so little about
Yeah, we're
what it is like actually, but, like, I would imagine and they've sort of talked about this, right? But, like, when you're playing one person for so long, you kind of get to know
Mhm.
them and the way they think, right? Or you have
Mhm.
to think about it. You're
Mhm.
trying to understand it.
Mhm. Like, and their body, like, we're talking about, like, auras and energy before,
Mm,
like, the actual physical presence of their body, right? You were saying
mm.
something about you y I think you remember, right? There's something that you said about, um, Gukesh and his, like, his body
Well, his
language, I
body
think.
language has changed a lot, I
Yeah.
think,
Mhm.
where to me and again, this is just, amateur outsider view, like, at the beginning and it could just be the photographs that I'm seeing, but at the
Mhm.
beginning, he it seemed to me like he was trying to do more to look intimidating.
Mm.
He is no longer doing that in the same way to me. Like, he's playing, they're not backing down, but he's not, um, just, like, projecting, you know, intimidation in the same way that he did at the start.
Yeah.
That can be all kinds of
Yes.
reasons, and it could,
Oh my
again, could
gosh, yes.
yeah.
No, no, no. Yes, yes, yes. No, this is great because you know what I'm realizing?
Mm,
Um, he's actually playing. Like, I think they're having fun. Like, I think they're actually playing.
Like playing.
I think they're playing. Yeah.
They definitely both seem to be really enjoying it. Like, I mean, they're tired and they're thinking hard, but they seem to be really
like they're yeah.
yeah.
Even the way they're analyzing it, it's just like they're playing.
Yeah.
Because I think because they just like don't know each other very much.
They played so few games prior to this.
Yeah.
Kinda cool.
Yeah. And it's been so even, so it's not, like
Well, that's our energy take on the start of the 2024 World Chess Champion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Last fun question, since
Mhm.
we've talked about, kind of like energy influence on other people, which again sounds very like that book called like How to Win Friends and Influence People. Like I don't mean it like that. More of just that it is part of your participation.
Yeah.
Like almost talking like body language. Maybe that's a good
Mhm.
kind of
Mm. Mhm.
unmysterious version of it. Like that's
Mhm.
very much part of the way you are in a space interacting with other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Um, if just in the imagined situation, let's
Mhm.
even make it like you and me. If you and I were playing a high stakes chess game against each other, ignoring the fact that, I'm truly bad at
Yeah.
this game and you are better, but like and the times we played it, like the time we played together in person was
You
very much
won,
well, because I
right?
think you just like didn't know an opening. Like it was, it was
No, it
not
was
for
great. You
real
won. It was so
ability
much fun.
reasons. We were
We were on
we
a train. It was
we were on a
perfect.
train. We were playing for fun, but like if we were in a high stakes situation and you
Mhm.
had your like X-Men weapon of choice of like
Mhm.
energy intimidation that you wanted to use
Mhm.
against some other
Mhm.
person, what would you
Mhm.
do to maximally intimidate me
Wow.
energy wise?
Energy-wise?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Like, with my energy or with your energy?
Just in like a complete fantasy made up world, because I don't think the two of us simply don't have the temperament
Yeah, we don't.
to actually do this is many steps removed. But in the sort of made up version,
Oh my
you can
gosh,
put
I
in with
know.
some other opponent. Yeah, okay, tell me.
I don't know if this is even super specific to you. It could just be anybody. Like,
Yeah.
I would have to start fantasizing about food. Just, like, about, like, their like, just, like, dinner, like, what they're gonna eat, like, it's, like, so different. Like, when you really want pizza or, like, when you really like, sometimes when you really
Yeah.
want something, it just
Yeah.
becomes all you can think about.
Yeah.
So I would make it that's, like, constantly, like, just every time you were trying to do, like, a fancy, like, 5 sequence move, like, you're thinking about, like, I don't know, the pizza and how much you want it and which one you're gonna get and when baking it. It's a whole thing.
That's amazing. This is such a good
Yeah.
answer. This is far beyond anything I could have dreamed of. And this is actually, and then I'll get around to, I'll stop like evading questions, but this just made me think of a coworker interaction from my week that
Yeah.
it was so funny to me. Um,
Mhm.
we were having lunch.
Mhm.
We were having a buffet lunch, and there were two people sitting across from each other. We were all at this big
Mhm.
table.
Mhm.
And Joan and Luna. And
Mhm.
Joan was kind of saying like, "Oh, the cream puffs look good, but I don't want to
Mhm.
start having cream puffs because I know once I start having one cream puff, I'm going to have a lot of cream puffs." And they were these
Yeah.
very inviting, tiny cream puffs. So they were
Yeah.
truly
Oh my
you could not
god.
have
They were
just
tiny.
one
Oh.
little
Yeah,
cream
yeah, you
puff.
couldn't. No.
And
Yeah.
Luna across from her was just like calmly eating cream puffs and said
Oh,
something like, but
yeah.
life is short and you should enjoy it. And one of the most important parts of enjoying life is enjoying food. And then she just
Oh.
looked across the table at
Uh-huh.
Joan. And like
Mhm.
5 seconds later, Joan cracked and was like, okay, I'm going to get cream puffs. And she got up and got cream puffs. And we were so impressed with Luna because she was not even applying she didn't even really have to press. She just
Mhm.
focused a little bit of her energy and it cracked her.
Oh my god. You know what she did also?
What did she do?
She invoked the spiritual side of her. She was like, "Life is short. You're going to
Mm.
die." Like, she just, like, she took it to the core. Like, you cannot
Mhm.
get any more. Like, she took it to the basic drive.
Yeah,
Okay.
the basic tribes. And I have not, I like Luna very much. I respect her greatly, all of that. But I had
Yeah.
not quite seen her like laser focus influence on somebody before, and I was like, "Wow, you have this power."
This is amazing. Oh my gosh.
It was ama and she used it for good kind of like, go enjoy yourself, like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's not like she was encouraging Joan to do something extremely bad, like, have a cream puff. This
No,
to her, this was a
just these
good.
inviting cream puffs. I'm going
Just
to think
inviting.
about these cream puffs now. My gosh.
Oh, yeah, they were pretty good. I think I had 8. Like, I'm
They were
thinking
but they were tiny and life is short.
they were small and life is short, but it was such a quick interaction, it passed so briefly, and I just
Yeah.
wanted to admire it for that, um
No, I admire that.
that something,
So
like,
swift.
exuded from Luna in that moment. It was so strong and
Yeah,
convincing and
yeah,
right. I think she was right. I had probably
yeah.
slightly more cream puffs after that, but it was just
Oh
so
my
funny to
gosh.
me that the other woman did not last 5 seconds. It was instant.
I wonder sometimes, like there's no way of knowing this, but I
Mhm.
wonder sometimes when somebody says something and then you decide to do it,
Yeah.
like, if you had already decided to do it and it just would have taken
Mm.
you, like, a little bit longer. But
Mm.
unclear and could be both ways. I mean, and
Could be
also
both ways.
irrelevant. But yeah.
Irrelevant. Like you were trying to understand how it works mechanically, but and we're not talking like about peer pressure exactly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe this is
Although,
this is
positive peer
misunderstood.
pressure is a thing and people keep doing this. Oh my goodness, at work, they'll be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, positive peer pressure. Do this thing."
Oh no, I've
It's
never
like
heard that phrase. I don't
it's
like
oh,
it.
it's in now and,
Ew.
you may hear it. It's the thing. It's gonna come up to you. Positive peer
Oh, I
pressure.
don't like it.
You'll
I
hear it.
don't
I
like
know.
it. I
There's a
don't like it.
distasteful feeling, there's a distasteful, element to it, but then
Yeah.
there's also the element where I like that it acknowledges exactly what's happening, but, it's like a reassurance that it's a positive despite.
I think I just really dislike it as a term because, and I'll get back to the topic, but Brene Brown was also kind of one of the things she was unloading. She kind of really went into
Oh,
this for a couple of pages, so I got the sense that this has been bugging her for some time. But
yeah.
she doesn't like it when people put a negative spin on a positive term or a positive spin on a negative term because she thinks we should separate these things out to be very clear about them. Like I think she was specifically going after people, not people directly, but like
Yeah.
the use of putting a negative spin on empathy by saying like it's bad it's bad to empathize for these reasons. And she's saying like empathy is always a good term, and if you're talking about something else, like use another term for it.
Use the more accurate term for that other
Use the more
thing.
accurate term for
Don't
it.
don't
Yeah,
say bad. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. Don't
Okay,
just say
that's
bad and don't muddy the
interesting. That's
terminology.
smart.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
use
smart.
the yeah,
And I
yeah.
think she was especially mad because she feels like people were doing it in clickbaity ways. I think that was what was really getting to her. Of like people trying to like jump on the bandwagon of like, oh, you think empathy's good? Let me get some attention by saying empathy's bad. That kind of thing.
Okay,
Anyway.
but I have one
Yeah.
argument against that, which
Yeah.
is that
Yeah. Yeah.
specifically for the peer pressure one,
Yeah.
um, what it does is it makes you realize when you are doing that behavior, positive or negative, right? But
Mm.
because it's making you focus on that behavior, you're not going to want to be the person that does the negative version of it. Because at this point, you're having to make a choice,
Oh, interesting.
right? Like you're like, okay, you will identify now. You will identify a greater version of things as being peer pressure. You will be able to see it, and then you can
Mm.
determine whether it's positive or negative.
I think I would still prefer a slightly different term. I think that's what we're doing with influence. And maybe I'm splitting hairs here a little bit, but I feel like if a term has almost always had negative connotations, then like
No, the other
who
reason
cares?
I like it
Yeah.
the other reason
Uh,
I like it is because usually it's in situations where okay, I'll tell you when it happened to me.
mm,
I didn't want to what was it? I didn't want to I didn't want to share something or explain something. It was something like where you'd have to go up in public and talk a little, and I hate
okay.
doing that. But it was
Oh,
the kind of thing where it's like when you share it, you're contributing to the group in a way
mm,
that's it's
yeah.
right because everybody else
Yeah.
is doing it.
Yeah.
Um, but
For
the
the team.
feeling, yeah, for the team. But the feeling for me, right, is that it's like I feel like I'm being pressured. Like I feel the negative version of it, right? And so then when
Mm.
they say, no, this is positive peer pressure. Like, yes, you're feeling this way. It's a negative feeling, but the
Oh.
outcome, the outcome is positive. Like it identifies exactly how you feel because it's
Mhm.
it's always used in a context where you don't feel comfortable. Like you are not
Mm.
comfortable. So I think specifically for that, but for the not empathy one, I understand that one actually. I think that's a problem for the reasons Brene Brown thinks is a problem. But I think that the positive peer pressure one is good for specifically what exactly precisely it's doing.
Okay. Like maybe peer pressure is more of it's like power. It's a neutral word.
Yeah,
It
and
can
it's
go
a
either
feeling
way.
usually you don't like it.
Yeah.
But they're saying we see you. We see how you feel. We know that this is this thing. It's going to be for a positive thing. So I think I really do like that. So
it's for a good end. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I would still hate to hear that phrase used. Oh boy, I'm glad I'm not in. But I can see that it's yeah. I would just use a different term. This is just personal, but it's good. It's like people helping you to take a step that you're uncomfortable with, but will result in good all around.
And also acknowledging that they're ganging up on you a little, like acknowledging that this is like not a fair, like this situation.
We are we are pressuring you as a group.
We're doing a
against
thing.
you.
We know we're pressuring you, but we think it's better. We think it's good
But we
for
think
you.
it's good. But we think it's good for you.
Yeah, we think it's good. Yeah,
Okay.
but we know you feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If couched that way, phrased that way, it sits in a kind of not exactly tricky, but an acceptable.
It's like a motivational thing. I don't know. It's like a I don't know.
Yeah. But okay, so to wrap up, as we have lunch. I have lunch to eat.
Yeah.
You have
it's food because I'm hungry.
Yeah. It's oh shoot, you've done it to me. You've made me think of the food.
There you go. See, this is the thing. It's the best, right? It works so well. I remember I had a friend who kept trying to make me work at school, which is a good thing. And I would start talking to her about food, and it would completely derail her. She would start thinking about food.
This is not even hypothetical. This is an actual power that you have. This is your X-Men power.
Really? Oh,
Maybe
wow.
you just when you need to get your way and another person is standing in it, you will go make them think of food, and that will get them off your face. I think you've done it your whole life and not really.
You invoke their primal self. Yes. One must do this
Oh my
as
God.
an animal.
Wow. I don't know if I can top this. How would I
You can top it very easily because this is 6-year-old logic.
But it's effective. And I think what I think is great about it is it kind of leaves no trace. Somebody would not think Sophia. It's Sophia who's making me think of food, and so she's trying to pull one over. You would just think I'm thinking of food. This is so unrelated. It's not anything Sophia's. How could she be? It's just I was thinking of something much more direct and intimidating, and then they would know it was me, and so then the next time they would be ready for it, etc.
Got it. Okay.
But I really like yours. Is a great subtlety to it.
Thank you. I just feel like I've received 17 different compliments of just unique, impactful quality.
It's so special. I would never have imagined doing that. You've probably done it to me many times, and I had no clue.
Not on purpose.
Mostly not. Maybe sometimes on purpose. Maybe
could be because I was hungry and I was trying to eat cheese in front of you.
Right?
I was eating my cheese really slow.
Yeah. I think if I had to, my way would be if I'm truthful to myself. There's probably the thing I probably do is I try to make people feel a little bad for me.
Oh, like how?
Get my way with something.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Tell me how.
Well,
I want to learn. I need to learn how to feel bad.
And it's well, I don't think something say, I think even with the brain scramblies, where I'm trying to, I know I've messed up, but I'll say I'm a little brain scramblies, and I want you to feel a little bad for me, so you get off my case a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
It feels very kind. It's a very benign. It is true.
I will feel bad if this happens.
Yeah, it's not like you're telling. Yeah, you're explaining what you'll feel.
Oh, that's probably my version of it.
So kind. It's
I don't think it's kind of. I think it's very manipulative.
No. Actually, no, it is not.
Extracting pity from somebody else.
That's not true. It's saying this is the state that I shall be in. Okay, maybe the manipulative part is that you have a role in this state, right? It's you or nobody else, right?
Because I'm trying to think of the other person for your emotional reaction. It's if
should they not do XYZ?
Yeah, which is of course not fair to hold someone to. That's probably my shortest route, though. When I enjoy that your shortest route is trying to make the other person think of it. This is incredible. But yeah, that's probably my go-to, like, disarm somebody. And I don't love that I do it. Sometimes I'm really upset with myself to do it, but I think that's my kind of fallback.
But maybe sometimes it makes the other person feel better to be able to take care of you. So maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah, it can be a good thing.
It's not, yeah. I think it's good.
A certain amount of, but anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Sophia, we have covered a great deal in this episode. We have gotten ourselves in and out of brain scramblies. We have explained where we were for all of November.
Yes.
Without truly knowing. We've explained it without truly knowing.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, nobody's going to really know what we did in November.
And with that, we will bring this episode to a close. Dear listeners, you are always welcome to send us your questions at noetiquettepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time here on No Etiquette. And until then, it is good etiquette to be kind to yourself during brain scramblies. We all go through it sometimes. And it is a spiritual state, not merely a state of busyness. And that is a good thing to acknowledge to yourself and to other people see. We will see you next time.
Good night.